My name is Norman Tiber. I was married to my wife Alice, who died 2 years ago, a couple of months before our 63rd wedding anniversary. I have 4 daughters and 3 sons. I moved to Aurora at the beginning of August and joined our Queen of Peace parish. I wish to introduce them to the Catholic Charismatic Renewal. When I was in my early 30s, I started searching for the meaning of life. I was getting very despondent. I thought there had to be more to life than just working, raising a family, paying bills, buying a car, buying a house, material possessions. I never did achieve happiness. Once I achieved those things, I was back again searching. One evening I was driving to Dayton, Ohio, and I picked up this young fellow and a girl, and they wanted me to drive them to a house, which I did. And when I got there was a big party going inside with a lot of people, a lot of drugs. And they said, "You want a joint?" And I said, "Oh, no, I'll just have a bottle of beer." And right after drinking it, I just left. I was always afraid to try drugs because I thought if that didn't work, then I may not want to live anymore. At that time, there was a song by Patti Page, "Is That All There Is?" Very haunting song. We were members of many parish organizations. One of them was Christian Family Movement, in which about 15 couples met once a month discussing our marriage and raising children. One evening, one woman come busting in, and she was all excited, and she said, "You never guess what happened to me tonight." And of course the women said, "What happened?" And she said, "I got the gift of tongues." And the priest present grabbed his Bible and opened up to 1 Corinthians and said, "The gift of tongues is the least of all gifts." But anyway, the women kept questioning her, and where was this at? And decided the next week to drive up to Ann Arbor to go to this prayer meeting that was held at the Newman Center. Anyway, my wife said, "You got to go to the prayer meeting with us tonight." And I said, "She's Irish, she's never going to give up, she's going to keep hounding me, I might as well go and get it over with." So we got in the car and drove up to Ann Arbor to the Newman Center. And there was at least 300 young students there, as well as some others, but they were all smiling and so happy, and I thought to myself, oh, I wonder what kind of drugs they're on. Anyway, the prayer meeting started, and there was a lot of great music and singing, adoration, singing in tongues, which kind of bothered me a little bit. And then about halfway through, this fellow, Ralph Martin, stood up to give a teaching. And what he said was my conversation with God, almost word for word. And Alice kept poking me like this, and I was irritated. Anyway, when the meeting ended, she said, "What'd you think?" And I said, "I want to go home." "Well, what's wrong?" And I said, "You didn't have to tell him what I told you." And she said, "I've been with you all night, in the car, since we got here. I haven't talked to anyone." And that really spooked me. But I found I kept going back every Thursday night. There was something there that I hadn't seen before, and I was really liked it. Some months later, the leaders said, "You have a large group coming here from downriver, and you should really be going to Jesu by University of Detroit." So we started going there, and it was a nun and 2 seminarians that played guitar that led the music in the meeting. And prior to the meeting, there was a priest that held a little workshop in one of the classrooms, and at the end he would always ask, "Does anyone want prayer?" And I said, "I do. Pray with me for a greater faith." Anyway, about 2 days before Christmas, and this was probably at least 6 months after I started going, I knew I couldn't fight this any longer. I felt I was a good Christian, but I was afraid that I couldn't live a Christian life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I didn't want to be a hypocrite. but I felt like the hound of heaven, and I had to give in. So I went into this prayer room. A nun and two seminarians started praying. There was probably about 7 of us. The guy sitting next to me was the head of a motorcycle gang. He had all this black leather on, chains hanging all over. I knew he was a nasty guy, and I heard he was a pimp. Anyway, they came, and when they started to lay hands on him, this guy flew right out of this chair. And I'm not exaggerating when I say he was horizontal to the floor about 3 feet and fell flat on his face. Scared me to no end. I didn't know what was going on. Later on, this guy became a leader of a prayer group at a parish in Centerline. So God worked in strange ways with him. When they came to me, they said, "What kind of gifts do you want us to pray for?" And I said, "I just want a greater faith, that's all." As they laid hands on me and started praying, I was overcome with some of the greatest peace I've ever experienced in my life. I felt the presence of Jesus. I just couldn't stop beaming. I was just so happy that I got home. I looked at a Christmas tree. Everything was new. Like I was looking at the Christmas tree for the very first time. I looked at a leaf and I saw all the veins in the leaf. Everything that I was seeking, I found with the presence of Jesus in my life and making this commitment. You know, there's a lot of great people in this parish that I've met. There's a lot of good and holy people. But I also know some people are missing something in their life. And what I would like to do is introduce them and bring Jesus Christ as a personal relationship with them.